Earlier this week, a BMW specialist said that my 335is needed up to $7,000 worth of repairs and maintenance. What the fuck? Let me give you a little bit of background before we get into all these repairs that this car needs, right? I'm actually in the process of selling the IS. It's been a great car. I've had a lot of fun with it, but if you're a car guy or a car person, you know that sometimes you're just ready for something new, and that's pretty much where I'm at. I want to build something different. Have a bunch of different options, and I'll probably make another video talking about what should my next car be. But I listed the car on Auto Trader maybe 2 weeks ago, and a gentleman reached out, interested in the car, and happened to be local to Albuquerque where I live. And so we took it for a test drive, and everything was fine. It drove great. And I honestly haven't been driving it because I've been wanting to sell it. So I'm just driving really the Miata around, and then I'm borrowing a van from my family for work. But he decided he wanted to get a pre-purchase inspection, or a PPI, which honestly, I think almost everybody should do on a used car if you can, especially if it's not coming from a dealer. So I could understand why he wanted to do this. And he wanted to have this done at a shop that I've been going to, and my family's been going to, since 1996. So it's been about 24 years that we've trusted this German specialty shop here in Albuquerque. And so we take it in for a PPI, and I knew that there was a small leak. It's been leaking like maybe a drop or two a week. It takes like that long for it actually to hit the floor of my garage. And I knew that that was probably something that would come up, but other than that, the car's been great. I've had zero codes or any of that kind of stuff. So PPI comes back, and let's go over, because I have it here, and I'll put this on the screen in this section here, and maybe I can even link it in the description. Let me see if I can pull that out for you guys. And a couple things came back, and let's go through those. So they said that the rear tires are showing a little bit of wear. So they said, you know, you may need some new rear tires pretty soon here. Okay, makes sense. Rear wheel drive car. It's got a lot of torque, no big deal. And then they said that the oil filter housing is leaking, and the oil pan and valve cover are also leaking, and that a small bolt on the transmission is slightly backed off. Okay. Now, oil filter housings on the N54 are known to leak, and the gaskets are known to go bad and just have a lot of oil come down the motor. So I was like, you know what? I've never done that service on the car. Totally possible that it's a thing. Valve covers, we all know, kind of go, valve cover gaskets kind of go bad on N54 cars as well. Now, they also said that the car is leaking oil, and that the car has a coolant problem, and there is oil in the coolant, and that there's a small chip in the glass, okay? Now, when I look at that list, I'm like, okay, so we've got a couple gasket issues that can be remedied. However, this shop told the buyer of this car that work would be $5,000 to $7,000 to repair this car. And I about lost my shit. Because let me tell you, I've been around a lot of cars. I've been around, like, all of them, right? Cars are something I've been around forever, and I kind of know when something's just off. And this was one of those cases. I was like, there's no way. $5,000 to $7,000 for what? I mean, is the coolant you're going to put in this thing laced with fucking gold? And I knew something was off. So I don't blame him, but the buyer wanted to back out of the purchase on the car. He's like, no way. If it has all these problems, there's no way that I want to buy this car. And if I were him, I wouldn't want to buy a car that needed $5,000 to $7,000 worth of repairs either. I mean, who would? But I knew something was off. So I called up this same shop the next day, and I asked them to draft up an estimate for the cost to repair all of those things that we just mentioned. And I'm going to pull this up right here. Now, this estimate was produced, and this is to replace the oil filter housing gasket, valve cover gasket, and the oil pan gasket, okay? All of those things, and address the little bolt. Now, that total, after they put in the hours and billable hours and all that kind of stuff, came into $3,671.18. That is an entirely different number in ballpark than $5,000 to $7,000 worth of repairs on this car. That is nowhere near the same amount. And what that tells me is that service advisor just was speaking out of her ass, basically. Which is funny because when I picked up the car, I said, so what's all wrong with it? And I said, well, what is it going to cost to fix all of those things? She didn't want to give me a number. And I said, but wait a second. The buyer's saying that you told him it would be $5,000 to $7,000 to repair these items. What's going on? And then she tried to basically justify the cost with a bunch of other stuff that was like, yeah, it doesn't really need to happen. You can't mathematically get to the $5,000 to $7,000 for these 3 repairs. So I did a little bit of research. I called another German specialty shop in town that was recommended to me by a BMW group out here in Albuquerque. And I talked to the owner, Sam. Super nice guy. And I said, look, here's what's going on. These are the repairs that need to be fixed on my car. And he was nice enough to give me a quote, and he's actually going to be making all of these repairs on the car. And he talked to me a little bit and said, look, as far as the oil pan gasket on your N54, I highly doubt that it's leaking. He is pretty adamant that it's not leaking. He looked at some of the pictures in the PPI, said, I don't think it's leaking. This car has only 71,000 miles. And he said, I've never seen that happen. And he repairs a lot of these boosted BMWs. So he said, look, worst case scenario, if it needs that, we are looking at a total, and he sent me a quote here, to fix all of those same things for $2,304.61. That's nothing in comparison to $5,000 to $7,000. And he said, look, if you don't need the oil pan gasket, I'm not going to do it because it's not necessary. He said, because it's probably not leaking. It's probably just oil coming from the oil filter housing. He said, okay, he's got more experience. And mind you, this is a master BMW mechanic that worked at BMW Santa Monica, BMW Beverly Hills, and then also Sandia BMW here in Albuquerque over the last 20 years. Then decided to do his own thing. He said, and gave me a quote, saying that if those are the things, if he doesn't need to do that oil pan gasket, we're looking at a total of $1,300. $1,300, people. And we were originally told $5,000 to $7,000. And I don't even know really what to think of it because my family and I have been going to this same shop for 24 years with everything from Porsches to Mercedes to BMWs to Audis to Volkswagens to literally everything. We've had them all. How could the numbers be that far off? I don't get it. I don't get it. But I guess really the moral of the story, and the reason I'm making this video is because if you're getting a quote on a car for some repairs and stuff like that, and it just seems wrong, do some research, make some phone calls and figure something out because you might find that maybe the shop that you're talking to is either overbilling or maybe the representative that you're talking to, and that's kind of what I think is going on in this case. I don't necessarily think that this shop that quoted this is dishonest. I think that maybe the service advisor misspoke, which almost killed the deal on this car because now that same buyer and I have come to terms on still selling this car to him with those repairs done at the $1,300, and we've adjusted the price to suit that and make it where it makes sense for both parties. But it almost killed the deal. And for a moment there, I had moments of panic where I was like, what do you mean $5,000 to $7,000 worth of repairs on my car? I mean, I've been driving this thing every day for over a year and a half up until recently, and it was fine. And I've been doing maintenance, brakes and, plugs, coils, and just, the charge pipe when it blew up. I honestly haven't had that many issues with the car. So I was completely blown away. Do some research, folks. I know this video is a little bit different than what I'm normally doing. This is more of me just talking about a situation. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think is going on. Like, what do you think is a reasonable price for this work? And have you ever had that same type of thing happen to you? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.